Hello, everyone, and welcome to Recurrent. We are going to talk today about metal for people who like prog rock and melodic rock. And so I'm going to focus on four bands, and we're going to talk about Amorphis, Anathema, Haken, and Katatonia. And we're not going to do a deep dive into the history of these bands. I'm going to try not to bury you in too many details, but this is just quite kind of an introduction. I talked in the intro video about how I kind of didn't feel particularly comfortable speaking as an authority on metal because I missed so much of it. I was around for a lot of it, but as far as metal of the 80s and the 90s, it was there, but I wasn't listening to it. And these four bands are really the gateway for me from prog rock and melodic rock into metal and what you might call metal adjacent. And so you may wonder why I'm not going to talk about Dream Theater or Porcupine Tree because they are pretty much the quintessential metal and prog crossover bands. You know, Dream Theater started in the early '90s or late '80s. Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, and Porcupine Tree mid '90s. I've been listening to those bands almost that long, but I kind of feel like everybody talks about those enough. And when I get to Haken, I'll reference Porcupine Tree. But anyway, the first band I want to talk about is Amorphis, and you can see one of their albums behind me there, Silent Waters. They formed in 1990 from Finland, and Amorphis is very melodic. I mean, if you like tunes, you will like Amorphis. And what Amorphis did for me is they got me to I don't know if I'd say appreciate, but they got me to understand harsh vocals because I liked the music so much, and they were really the first band I ever listened to that had harsh vocals. And I thought to myself, what harsh vocals are what people might consider, some people in a derogatory way call it Cookie Monster singing. It's kind of a deep throat growling singing. Um, I was listening to Amorphis, and this was, I guess, probably about 5, 6 years ago, and I thought to myself, you know what? Just because that's not my normal doesn't mean that I should be limiting myself to not listening to bands that do that. When people say to me, I cannot tolerate that, I understand it. I really do. But I kind of said to myself, you know what? This really isn't about me. This is about an entire uh, genre that accepts this and has been listening to this for a very long time. So Amorphous got me softened in that way to appreciate it. But uh, Tommy, their singer, is very he's got a very good clean vocal voice and a very much of a goth voice. He kind of reminds me of Peter Murphy a little bit. So he alternates between the harsh vocals and the clean vocals. And uh, there are about a dozen, maybe 2 dozen Amorphous songs that don't have any harsh vocals at all. So if you wanted to make yourself if you wanted to go on a streaming service and make yourself a little playlist, I'll kind of try to mention some tracks that might be good for that. But the thing that amazed me about Amorphis is that you can go pretty far back, and you kind of can do this with all of these bands I'm going to talk about. You can go pretty far back into their catalogs and not start to feel like you're listening to the band prior to being fully formed. In other words, I thought it was remarkable. I went 6, 7, 8 albums back into Amorphis, and I didn't start feeling like it sounded like they were still forming until I got way back, like 18 years ago. And so it's remarkably consistent work. Amorphis is considered to be progressive metal, melodic death metal, and folk metal. There's a little bit of a folk, almost kind of, I'm not making fun of this when I say this, but almost kind of a river dance kind of a thing. Every once in a while, there'll be a very traditional, like old music folk kind of element to some of their songs. Not often, but occasionally. In their early days, they were death metal and death doom, which is death doom is kind of a combination of death metal and doom metal. And they kind of morphed into what they Amorphous. They morphed into what they are now. And so you can go pretty far back, like Skyforger right here. It's from 2009. Uh, Circle, which I'm going to talk about in a little more depth, is if you wanted to really listen to like the best of Amorphis, fully formed and firing on all cylinders, Circle is where you could start, and it starts in 2013. And the cool thing about Circle is there is a big chunk of it that is all clean vocals. So tracks 2, 3, 4, and 5, Mission, The Wanderer, Narrow Path, and Hopeless Days are all clean vocal songs, extremely melodic songs. If you like regular old melodic rock, you will like these songs. I promise you that. And that's not to say that the songs that have harsh vocals aren't cool. They are. They're very cool. But if you're just starting with Amorphis, I would say start here and beyond, or start with Present and go back to here. But you certainly can go back further and still enjoy them. Under the Red Cloud was the first album I bought, 2015, I think. Yeah. And Under the Red Cloud has a song on it called Come the Spring, which is one of the bonus tracks. And that's a really good, if you're going to start with one song, that's the one to start with. All clean vocals. Just really great stuff. And one of the things that got me to appreciate them is a song on here called Bad Blood. And they sort of is it Dark Path or Bad Blood? I think it's Bad Blood, where you sort of, when you listen to it and you hear the vocals and the harsh vocals and the clean vocals kind of working together, you kind of go, okay, well, I kind of understand what they're doing there. And that was when it really clicked for me. This was the new album when I got into them, Queen of Time, 2018. Extremely strong album. It's got Annette Giersbergen singing on it, on the song Amongst Stars. And there's a song on here called Wrong Direction, which is a very good song. Mostly clean vocals. Just super accessible stuff, even with the harsh vocals. Heart of the Giant is a song that they play. When they play it, the crowd goes crazy. I've had the opportunity to see them twice, and they're very, very good. So Queen of Time, extremely good record. And this is what the guys look like right here. There's Tommy the vocalist. And just outstanding songwriter, 3 principal songwriters in the band. And then their latest is Halo, which is, let me see, when did that come out? 2022. Again, really strong album. It's got lots of songs that you would that people who aren't necessarily into extreme metal music would really like. There's a song on here called War. Halo is a great song. My Name is Night is a duet with a female vocalist whose name escapes me, and just some really good things. A song on here called The Moon. It was one of the lead-off singles, I think. Really strong stuff. They don't show any signs of slowing down. So Amorphis, I think you would really enjoy if you like prog. And prog metal, they're kind of on the edge of prog metal. When I say prog metal, Amorphis just has an occasional mixed meter measure every once in a while, and some complicated riffs, some complicated drum riffs. Drummer's very, very good. And so it's not necessarily prog rock as in that kind of mathematical thing that you think of when you think of like King Crimson or something like that. It's not like that. It just has progressive rock elements in it. So if you like prog rock, you'll notice those things and you'll go, okay, that's kind of cool. So moving on to Anathema. Anathema started out as a goth/death doom band in 1990. They're from Liverpool, and what they morphed into is a really interesting thing. They're classified as progressive rock, post-progressive, progressive pop, and alternative rock, and I think all of those are accurate. I always tell people that if you're listening to later period Anathema, if you're the kind of person that makes fun of pop music and rock music when it gets really sentimental and sweet, then Anathema is not for you, because it's very sincere and earnest. And they have for most of their run, they have a female vocalist, Lee Douglas, who has the most beautiful voice. And Vincent Kavanaugh and Danny Kavanaugh are the principal guys here. Vincent's the guy with the strongest voice, and Danny is the guy with the songwriting chops. And so that's all you really need to know about them. This particular album right here uh, would be a good place to start. We're here because we're here. Mixed by Steven Wilson. This came out in 2010, and just some beautiful tracks on here. Dreaming Light, a perfect example of the kind of song where if you don't like sentimental sweet music, you know, move on to something else. There's a song on here called Everything, which is really beautiful. Just great stuff, great stuff, really interesting. And when it gets heavy, it sort of gets heavy in more of a less of a metal way and more of a like a, a a shoegaze kind of way. It's kind of difficult to describe. But when you hear it, it's very unique. Another great album of theirs, Distant Satellites. I believe this is 2014. This has the first of a couple of things that they do where they'll have like a song and then have part two and sometimes a part three. On this album, it starts with the Lost Song part one and the Lost Song part two, and then further on into the album, you get the Lost Song part three. Gorgeous, gorgeous songs. A beautiful song called Ariel, a song called Anathema, which could really be. Uh, uh, it's more of an alternative song. They have a couple of songs, and we'll get to more of those later, especially when we go further into their catalog, where it's really you could say it was alt rock, and then a gorgeous closer called Take Shelter. Just really beautiful stuff. One of these I only have on a CD. This is from I think I got the orders mixed up. Let me see. Yeah, this is 2013. This is Weather Systems, and more about this in a minute. But and Anathema sort of splintered and became Weather Systems, and we'll talk about that later. I have some complicated opinions about that. But Weather Systems is great. Starts out with Untouchable Part 1 and Untouchable Part 2. And I'm going to show it in a minute, but there's a best of for Anathema, and those were the two songs that I got attached to first. And again, gorgeous, heavy in a strange kind of shoegaze slash alt rock kind of way. Uh, just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Another song called Internal Landscapes on here, which is really beautiful. Just great, great stuff. And then you get to The Optimist, and I used to have an attitude about The Optimist because The Optimist came out in, let me see, 2017. This got the Prog Magazine Album of the Year for that year over the Neil Morris band The Similitude of a Dream. And so before I ever started listening to Anathema, I had a problem with them because because this album got the award instead of The Similitude of a Dream, and it took me a while to kind of go, okay, well, everybody's talking about this. This is a really cool album, a concept album about a guy who gets kind of lost, and he there are a lot of ways to interpret it, so I'm not going to go into details about the concept, but starts with a song called "Leaving It Behind." Great, almost kind of an alt rock song. Uh, a beautiful song sung by Lee Douglas called "Endless Ways." A couple of tunes, "San Francisco" and "Springfield," which also are kind of alternative rock songs. "Can't Let Go," I think you could say that about. So this album to me is a little bit less beautiful and a little bit more uh, experimental, but still very good. Obviously, they won awards for it, so there you go. And then the first thing I ever got from them was this album right here, Internal Landscapes, which is, let me see if I can turn that so you can read that. This is a best of, and I think it came out in 2018. I don't think I got it till 2019. And you can see the track list right there if you want to jot down all the Anathema songs you should listen to, or if you want to pick this up, which it's still available. Those are them pretty much right there. And I would add the Lost Song Part 1 and the Lost Song Part 2. But anyway, this is a fantastic album. Every once in a while, uh, a best. I'll see a picture of what they look like. A best of or a compilation will come out and it'll really capture the essence of a band, and it'll really be something that you can actually get and get a really good uh, overview of what the band is like. That's one of them. And so while that's in print, I very highly recommend it. Um, Anathema had a rough time at the end of the pandemic. They had a tour canceled. They lost a lot of money. They had been signed. They had been signed to K-Scope, and they got a new deal with Mascot. And Danny Kavanagh is a really intense guy, and I think if he weren't so fragile, I think that the band may have stayed together. But a bunch of stuff happened, and I won't go into what happened. And but they just sort of fractured. And during the pandemic, they tried to convene a couple of times and start recording, and they would stop, and then Danny said that he was gonna do this band called Weather Systems, and then Weather Systems, he would say it's coming out, and it never came out, and it never came out. Finally came out last year or this year, a couple of months ago, 3 4 months ago, and I don't have a physical copy of it. But it's very good. But they replaced Lee Douglas with a different female vocalist, which is really a shame to me. That I think she was in the band close to 20 years, and so I really wish that they hadn't fractured. And the drummer from Daniel Cardoso, I think is his name, from the Anathema albums, is in Weather Systems. So there's some continuity there. There are people who are going to the gigs in the UK saying that it's a pretty good uh, uh, you know, uh, version of what it might have been like to see Anathema with a little less production values, because they've a smaller budget. But I think it's a real shame that they couldn't hold together, because when you hear them, if you've never heard this band, they really are nothing like anything else you've ever heard. So I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about what happened to Anathema, but Weather Systems is still pretty good. So we're going to move on to Haken, and Haken formed in London in 2007, and they are categorized as progressive metal and progressive rock. But what I think is unique about Haken, and I talk about Haken all the time. You guys are probably tired of me talking about Haken if you've seen me on any other shows. But what Haken does, like for example, if you think of Porcupine Tree, what Porcupine Tree did that was really interesting back in the day, 20 years ago, is that they would have very melodic, almost acoustic prog rock and pop rock. And then all of a sudden they would get really heavy. Like not just, oh, heavy for them. No, they would get really heavy. And then they would switch gears back and forth between the heavy and the melodic and more acoustic. And one of the things that Haken does, and they're probably, like I said, I'm not an expert in this. They're probably not the first band that did this, but they might be. Haken plays the pretty melodic stuff, and they put the metal riffs right on top of that. So it happens at the same time. And another thing that they do occasionally is they play in more than one time signature at a time. So if you like that stuff, if you're the kind of person that likes to try to figure out, what a band's doing, Haken is for you, because they're full of tricks and and really really inventive stuff, but extremely melodic. And Ross Jennings is a super guy. The singer, great voice, great range, really nice. Plays and sings a lot of different kinds of music. Is occasionally a collaborator with Neil Morse. He's in Di Virgilio, Morse and Jennings, which is kind of like a CSN and Y kind of a band. And so really versatile guy. And so when you take his melodic singing and you put it in this really pretty heavy metal, and you put that together, it's very interesting. They started with a couple of albums, Aquarius and Visions, very much like a tradition, what you might think of as a traditional prog rock album. Both of them end in a long track. Beautiful records. There are some people that stop there because they don't like the heavier stuff where they go into different genres like djent. I think I'm saying that right, djent. And so a lot of people don't like that, but the early stuff is easier to get into. The Mountain is kind of a bridge between when they started getting really super heavy. Beautiful record. I should mention here, in case you're trying to make a playlist, the Celestial Elixir is the 10, 11, 12-minute song on this. That's really, it's got a part in it about 10 minutes in that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And Visions, the title track on this, is the big long track, and those are the highlights. And the 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 shorter tracks that come before it are all pieces that the longer track kind of picks up on. So I went right to the long tracks because somebody recommended that I do that. And so if you do that, then when you listen to the other tracks, you're like, oh, there's that part, there's that part, there's that part. Really cool stuff. But The Mountain is more of a traditional record. Atlas Stone, Cockroach King, because it's there, is this really gorgeous kind of almost kind of an a cappella kind of thing. Falling Back to Earth, soaring melodies, and but still pretty heavy. This is really good stuff. There are a lot of people who think this is their best. Then you get to Affinity, which is my favorite. Affinity is probably the most accessible. And Affinity, they initiate 1985 and Earthrise, I think, are this, and The Endless Knot, I think, are the songs that probably most people would consider to be their favorites. The Architect is the big long song, and it's got some harsh vocals on it, but just for a minute. And Bound by Gravity is the closer, and that's my favorite Haken song. It's a perfect example of taking a really beautiful melody and putting the brutal riffs right on top of it and playing it at the same time. Really good stuff. And then you go to these two albums. They're kind of their pandemic albums, Vector and Virus. And those are, they kind of go together, but not really. Vector is a concept album about a guy who gets institutionalized for mental issues, and nobody will listen to him, and he not so good things happen. I won't do any spoilers, but very dark album, but very beautiful. There's a song on here called The Good Doctor, which is super fun. I mean, really fun, and not long, not a 10-minute long song. It's like a 3.5, 4-minute song. So good. Puzzle Box is a song where I believe at the end of Puzzle Box, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's a part in Puzzle Box where they play in 3 different time signatures at the same time, which is really cool. It might just be 2, but there are times when I hear 3. And again, a brutally heavy song, but the end, the last minute and a half, is just gorgeous. Nil by Mouth is just a really cool instrumental, which is almost, it's like YYZ, like on speed. It's just really good stuff. Just beautiful. Virus is a little bit similar to that. I don't like Virus as much as I like Vector, but there's a couple of really beautiful things on here. Canary Yellow, especially, and then Messiah Complex, which has elements of some of their earlier songs, is a little part of the Cockroach King that gets played during this, so that's kind of fun. And then you go to their latest, which is Fauna, which again is a great album. They had a keyboardist named Diego who was from Mexico, who I really liked, and he's really good at making sounds that you don't recognize, like, wow, that's a really cool synth sound. What is that? Is it supposed to be a trombone? What is it? And he's a really innovative soundscapist, if that's a word. And he was replaced for this album with their original keyboardist from when they were founded, named Peter Jones, who is a super likable guy and a really good keyboardist as well. But I wonder if maybe he's not quite as innovative as Diego was. Time will tell. But this is a super great song. And some of the songs are actually, I don't want to say radio friendly because that's not really a thing anymore, but there are some songs that are pretty accessible. The Alphabet of Me is one of them, and Love Bite is another, but the whole thing is great. I kind of feel like maybe that they might have peaked a little here and maybe dipped a little here and maybe came back a little on Fauna, but you can let me know what you think if you like these guys. And this right here is their latest. It's live forms, An Evening with Haken, and it's a very long set from one of their tours, which I believe was called An Evening with Haken. And so they play all of Fauna, and then they go into a whole bunch of other things from their entire career, and then the DVD is in here as well. So this looks like something to me that maybe won't be in print forever. So if you think you want this, I think now is the time to get it. The vinyl of this version is just the first part. The vinyl of this version is just the Fauna record played live, and that's great. But if they tried to put this on vinyl, I don't know, it would be like 7 discs or something like that. So, so yeah. So Haken is a great band. Haken has some really heavy stuff, and if there's that some people might think is too heavy, but for the most part, it's pretty accessible. And so we're going to move on to Katatonia. Now, this is a band that has a long history. Katatonia started in Sweden in 1991, and they've gone through a lot of twists and turns. They started out as Death Doom, and they throughout most of their career they could be described as progressive rock, progressive metal, and you could also say doom metal, gothic rock. Really, kind of I think the best way to classify Katatonia is they're a metal band. I mean, there's definitely riffs involved, but they're melancholic, I think is the best word. Sad themes, sad and deep and dark, emotional kinds of themes. I think I'm saying this right. Jonas Rensk, I think is my best guess. He's really good singer, really emotive singer. In the early days, he was harsh vocals and clean vocals for like almost 2 decades. He's been clean vocals all the way through. They just lost an important member, Anders Nystrom, guitarist, who's been with them for a very long time, probably forever. I don't have all the facts in front of me, but I was worried about that until I went to their latest record, which we'll talk about, and I noticed that it said all songs written by Jonas Brents, because I was like, okay, Katatonia is going to be all right. But so we'll talk about that when we get into it. But the oldest Katatonia I have, I think, let me see between the two of these. I think it's this one. I think it's The Great Cold Distance. And I may get the dates wrong on these, because I'm not even going to say what the date is on this. I want to say 2008, 2009, something like that. They've redone these and reissued them, and so the dates on the back don't always match. Oh, 2006. There was a date on here. And again, like here's a really cool picture of them. Like Amorphis, they are, you can go way back. You can go back 20, 25 years with Katatonia and not hit anything that sounds rough. This is another one of their albums right here. This one is 2009, Night is the New Day, which of course is a great title for a metal album. And then you move on to, and this is where I really want to focus on, this era right here, starting with Dead End Kings. Dead End Kings, 2012, I think. Anyway, this one right here, this is when they I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that, because, like I said, you can go back and the songwriting is really strong, like way back. But this is the one that really strikes me as being really exceptional. 3 songs on here: Hypnon, I think I'm saying that right, The Racing Heart, and Lethian, I think I'm saying that right too. Those are the ones that, if you want to sample Katatonia to see if you'll like them, Hypnon, The Racing Heart, and Lethian are the ones that I think are the best. If you're somebody who listens to not metal most of the time. Not to say that the rest of this album isn't awesome, because it is. First Prayer and Dead Letters are the last 2 tracks are astonishing. But this is where I feel like the songwriting really takes off to another level. And then you've got this. You've got The Fall of Hearts, which comes later on. Let me see if I can get a date off of this. It looks like it's 2016. Is that right? I think that's probably right. Again, a beautiful record. Old Heart Falls and what's the other one? There are 2 songs that were sort of the. I'm not sure. I don't want to pick the wrong one, but Old Heart Falls is kind of the song that a lot of people think about when they think about this album. The whole thing is just excellent, just really beautiful stuff. And right down there you see where it says mixed by Jens Bagren. He's a gentleman who works on a lot of these kinds of records, and he works with Amorphis a lot too. So anyway, and then you get to City Burials, which is 2020, and but prior to this record they took a little bit of a break and came back to do this one. I'm going to talk mostly about Skyboy to Stars, which is recent, but this is the one before it, and this one has a little bit more varying kinds of songs. There are some songs that are quieter and more. I don't want to say acoustic, but just not firing on all cylinders in your face with the metal. And so I appreciate that, but my introduction was Skyboy to Stars, so we're gonna go right to that because I think this album. This was 2023. This was my number one album of 2023, and look at the cover; it's absolutely beautiful. The birds are, some of them are shiny, and it is just gorgeous. And this album right here really kind of hits you with not that there's not any variation, but every song is really strong, and every song is is very aggressive, uh, without being like there's not sameness between them, but there's I just feel like this is their most consistent release. Definitely. The one song that really hit me from this album, and it was the last one that they released before the album came out as a kind of a preview single. It's called Atrium, and that one is, anybody who likes pop music would like Atrium. I played it for my older sister, and she liked it. And she doesn't listen to any metal. But it's hard to. I'm just going to show you the tracks. It's hard to pick. I'm not sure how well you can read that, but it's hard to pick, which ones are my favorite. Austerity and Colossal Shade are fantastic. Opaline and uh, Atrium are probably my favorites. Impermanence is fantastic. Author, just beautiful stuff. And so this record right here, I very highly recommend. And one of the things I really like about it is, at the danger of going on and on too long about it, one of the things I really like about it is that it has some. I probably should have just wrote these down, but it has the lyrics are sometimes kind of economical. Like there's less there's maybe less words than you think there might be. But I'm not going to read it. I thought I might read some lyrics, but I won't. I'll just let you discover them. But really beautiful stuff. A lot said in few words, I think, is the best way that I could describe it. So those are four bands that I think anybody who's thinking about dipping their toe in metal and metal adjacent music, I think Amorphis, Anathema, Haken, and Katatonia are really good places to start. So we'll end it there. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you listen to any of this stuff based on my recommendation and like it or don't like it. Let me know. And if you know way more about these bands, and you can tell me everything I got wrong. Um, but thanks for joining me on this. Of course, like and subscribe, and I'm gonna leave the notifications bell up to you because I know that sometimes that can be a little much. Every time you turn on your computer, there'd be like 100 notifications. So everybody always says that's the most important button to hit, but you do you. If you don't want to hit the notifications button, that's fine. But please like and subscribe and make a comment, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.